Welcome back, and today is a video on my knife collection. Now, what you're going to watch here in this video is me trimming down this stack of knives. Now, some are even outside the frame. And we're going to be taking it down to only 16 knives that I will use on a regular basis. 16 knives that fit inside my vault case. Exactly enough slots. And we're going to talk about what we're going to do with the rest of them. Some of them are going to be part of giveaways, and some of them are so good in their respective categories that I will keep them as reference material for future videos. So if this is of interest to you, let's go ahead and get started. So this is how the video is going to go. We're going to take the stack and we're going to slowly but surely trim out of it knives that we are not going to keep, or we know what category they're going to be in. And I have some baskets here of how I'm going to divide them up so that I can actually, keep it all in order. And truthfully, I haven't thought through this so much that I already know what the top 16 are going to be. And it's kind of a fun process, and it's something that is really nice to do with your collection. Now, I know it might seem like I have a lot of knives, but when it comes to knife lovers, I actually probably have a pretty moderate or small collection. But I prefer to trim it down to an even more manageable size, because otherwise I end up not using any one of them all that often. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's get started, shall we? A lot of different knives here from different brands, different costs. We go all the way up to, let's see, I think around $300. There's a couple of knives around that price point here, different materials, different knife steels. So let's go ahead and just, start somewhere budget. Okay, let's start with a budget knife. And I think the first knife they're going to be talking about is this. This is a Ganzo Firebird. This is the model F759M, and this is in 440C. So if this looks familiar, it's because it is. This is a clone of the Spyderco Delica. Now, it's very, very similar in size. In fact, actually, it's not a direct clone to the Delica. It's a direct clone to the Bird series knives, which are basically a clone of the Delica because they actually have a slightly different finger choil area. And funny enough, these are actually better than those clones. Those are made in 8CR, and this is a 440C knife that comes in under $15. So this is the first knife that I'll be keeping in the metric category, because when people say, I can't afford a decent knife, the truth is, even if you don't like clones, this is a really good option for a beater knife. And so for that, it's going to go in the pink box, and that will be our first metric knife. Okay, continuing down that road, the next metric knife is going to end up being the Kbar Dozier. I always not 100% sure about the name on this. This is a utterly fantastic knife. It is a backlock and incredibly stout blade. So actually, I'm going to showcase a couple of these in comparison, but take a look at the thickness of the edges and the tips. This is a very stout tip. Probably going to take a lot more abuse than many of these flat grinds will. And because it has a hollow grind, it's able to keep that very stout tip while still having a nice slicey edge. In my opinion, if this knife was ever made in AUS 10. And AUS 10 is a Taiwanese steel that is used in a variety of different knives, such as the Demco AD 20.5. It's also used on a lot of cold steel knives, all of which are made in Taiwan. But yeah, this would be a sick knife in AUS 10. I wish they would do that instead of D2 for their more premium version. I would buy like 4 of them. They're awesome. But as it is, this is still a very inexpensive $20 knife and is a great metric to showcase when we compare it to other knives. So this will be kept. All right, moving on. This is really interesting. A video that you're probably watching, that you may have watched earlier today, is a video where I did a test to compare the Savivi Praxis with 2 other knives for food prep. And what was crazy is that this Praxis overall was the worst one. So as much as I love it, I'll probably end up giving away these Praxis knives that I have, this one and this one, at some point, because I can't really carry them where I live. And even though I love them and I think they're fantastic, there is a better Savivi for me where I live. So these will both be given away. This is actually something that made it into my top 10 last time, but after the performance of a certain other knife, I'm actually okay with giving these up finally. So they're gonna be given away in the yellow box. Now, the knife that ended up, well, I'm gonna just eliminate a bunch of stuff. So the next knife we'll talk about is this one. So check this out. There was a brief time when the cold steel, what is this one called? What is I forget what this thing called? SR1 Light. When the SR1 Light went on sale, it was $30 for this thing. This absolute tank of a knife. You should see the abuse people get with this thing. I picked one up. I had no choice. It felt right, at least to showcase just the absurdity of it. I mean, look at the difference on the tips of these things. So we get that. Got to be careful with these. They are very, very, very sharp. But yeah, look at the difference in thickness. Almost a 1/4 inch of steel on the SR1 Light in the Tanto version. Very, very cool. Definitely something I will keep as a metric, and probably for some fun abuse later down the line that we can play around with. Okay, moving on. Some knives from Cinnabon. So Cinnabon is a budget brand that makes a whole bunch of different knives. I got a series of these when they were about 20 bucks, and this is in 14C28N. And this particular one had an issue with its liner lock, and I bent the liner, and now the D10 is way too strong. I need to adjust it, but once I do fix it again, you can see how hard it's pushing. It's actually moving the blade over too much. I will end up giving it away at some point, because it is a decent knife, just not with this D10, but this will definitely be given away. Continuing with Cinnabon, we have another one here that I wanted to check out because it was $13, a D2 folder for $13. And look, what did I expect from this? I mean, it's got some extra thick liners, which are way too thick in my opinion, making the D10 a little too strong, but it's fine. The handle, surprisingly, is quite comfortable on this knife, but no, it's not something I'm going to keep or ever use. So once again, give away. All right, another one from Cinnabon as well. This one's a little bit on the more premium side. It actually has a contoured micarta handle, 14C28 again, with a fuller, not really a functional fuller. Haven't reviewed it, but it's an interesting knife. On bearings, I'm never going to use it. That's the reality. So it's going to end up being given away. So another giveaway knife going in the pile. All right, let's keep moving as we go through this. Now, the next one is another knife that I've never reviewed on this channel, but I don't feel like I can add anything else to the conversation. Okay, that's why I haven't made a review on it. I purchased this myself because I was like, okay, what's it all about? Is it really that good? And yes, the answer is the QSP Penguin is everything that people have said. One of the best values in the knife world. Still, that's still true. This particular model with the black wash and carbon fiber overlay is $38, but the base model for this is around $33. I don't know if you can get much better for a D2 folder that comes in under 3 inches. A fantastic knife all the way around. It's definitely going to be kept because it's a great metric when we talk about price and value. So for this will be going into the pink container of metrics. All right, we're trimming it down, we're getting there. Now, let's talk quickly about some more traditional knives. So I have 5 of them here. And this first one is the, well, I'm gonna put the name right here. But for a while, this was available on Amazon for $7. And what I love about this knife is its history. This is the same basic design that's been made for a long time in Japan, and it's still made in Japan. And I think what a cool traditional folder to have. It's just a beautiful carbon steel folding knife, a utility knife. And I'm actually a huge fan of friction folders. So I could not get rid of this. I love it. It's just a really compact folder, and you can fit in so many places, in a lot of different organizers, in really small slots. It's just a great knife to have access to as a backup folder. And it's got a very, almost like a Scandi grind to it. You know, I think it's got a secondary edge, but it's very, very stout and a very, very wide thing. So it probably works really good with wood as well. So really cool knife. Definitely going to be keeping that in the metric container. All right. The other knives here, of course, the Opinel number 8, both in carbon and stainless steel. Oh wait, I got this one too. These are very interesting, but I got to say I've very much graduated out of them. The biggest advantage to me, at least, is the 90-degree spine and the fact that it's exposed, because you can actually just use this for a fire steel scraper, and it works so well, better than most knives, in fact. But generally speaking, it's not what I would take given the choice, and this is why. Let me take all these out for a minute. The Sword knife, I got these from Sword Canada, and they have changed how I felt about non-locking knives in general, and especially about traditional knives. I love carbon steel for what it is, and these traditional friction folders are some of the most comfortable knives to actually use regularly. And if you take care of them, they can be absolutely wonderful. And there's also some great ways to open the knife. If you hold it like so, just a little fun tidbit, with the end down, you can actually just pull the handle towards you and open it. And then once you have your hand around it, it ain't closing. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, love both of these. I will never get rid of them. They are going to be in metrics, but I also will use them from time to time. They are so much fun to whittle with the stamped carbon steel. They're just really sweet knives. I can't say enough. And actually, for this one, you can see I've actually filed down using a grinder. I've actually filed down the back to make this 90 degrees so I can strike a fire steel. And I've actually also filed down the back of this to make it into a pseudo pry tool. So really, really useful, really awesome folding knife. Going into the pink box on metrics. And the same thing is true with the Opinels. There's no way I'm gonna just throw these away. There are excellent knives. You just throw them in places and they're great to have. 2 in stainless steel, but I have to say, if you're gonna pick one, get the carbon steel. Carbon steel just takes the sharpest edge you've ever seen. Crazy good. Cannot say enough about the Opinel knives, especially when you think about the ergonomics. It will give you a great metric when you're looking at everything else, because you'll forget, you know, oh wait, why can't these have that kind of ergonomics? But anyway, definitely worth keeping, going in the metric pile. All right, we're getting to the nitty-gritties finally. So let's move some knives around. Now, let's talk about our first real premium knife on here. So this was something sent to me to check out by, God, I can't remember. I'm going to put the name right here and I'll put a link to the review. But it's one of the most unusual knives that I have in my collection. It's 2 ball bearings and magnetic connection right here in this sort of titanium milled frame. And it gives you this beautiful Tanto in M390 steel. Very, very comfortable, surprisingly. But I gotta say, it's not really a knife that I carry, even though it is one of the coolest things that I own. It really, really is. And I feel like, just personally, that someone out there would have great appreciation for it. And because it was sent to me by this company, I will do the same and pass it along. So this will be our first premium knife that we'll actually be adding to a giveaway at some point in the future. So we'll be putting that in the yellow bin and moving on. Now, speaking also of giveaways, you may recognize this from my $100 USA made EDC. The person who won this was actually out of the country in a place where this would not be legal. So this ended up remaining behind. And so we're going to end up giving this away. But what I may do beforehand is maybe do some modifications to it to improve it slightly. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see, but definitely going to end up being given away. This is, of course, the Buck God, what is this model? The 286. So this is the 286. It's the 3.5 inch model. And yeah, very cool. All right, still going. Still going. We're eliminating stuff. It's getting smaller and smaller on this table. All right, next one is going to be the Rake, and this is the P108. Now, both the P108 and the P801 are some of the best examples of incredible value that you can get in the budget realm. This steel frame lock with what they're calling their beta lock is only $40, and it's really well done with a crazy good action too, by the way. Incredible knife. So when I talk about knives in the budget realm, and I'm like, well, you know, we're 70, you know, we can't go any lower. I just pull out something like this and I go, oh no, it's possible. I mean, you're made in the same country. It's possible. So I think this is a great metric to showcase when we do budget knives. And so for that reason, it's going to go in the pink basket. All right, now things are getting a little harder. So Kubei, I just made a video on this last week. And these are amazing. Both the Kubei Monster Dog and the Royal are so good. Like I said, the only problem Kubei ever runs into, with me at least, is that they are a little bit overpriced by about $10 to $15 on average. And so these are actually going to get passed to a couple other knife reviewers that are part of a knife review group. And then after that, they'll probably end up getting given away. Awesome brand quality. It just needs a little bit better ratio on value. So really cool knives, but they're definitely going in the giveaway pile. All right, now we're at the point where we can start adding. I think we're ready to start adding to that binder. Where's the binder? Over here. Okay, so we are at 16 minutes into this video, and we're just now putting our first knife into the pile. So let me go ahead and move this around a little bit, like so, and we'll get this thing opened. So, now, this is, of course, the vault case. I get asked this all the time. What do you keep your stuff in? It's the vault case. I love this thing. I have 6 of them. They organize pretty much everything I have. It is a game changer, in my opinion, and I cannot recommend them enough. On the back, you have an organizational tray for repairs of knives, and I've shown that as well. Cannot say enough. They're usually sold out because they are very inexpensive for what they are. But yeah, just so people know, I'll put a link to that in the description. All right, first knife. Let's talk about the last Kubei. The hide, which I just reviewed, is everything that I think they've learned. It's action, it's options for opening, it's ergonomics. They've done everything right with this knife, with the exception of price. So I will definitely be taking advantage of the fact that they sent this to me and keeping it in my collection. I love this knife. I think it's great. As soon as it's a little bit cheaper, I will start recommending it. But yes, that will be the very first knife in this setup. Now, the second knife. Now we're staying within that 3-inch blade size. There's one knife on here that I always end up defaulting. Well, let me get refocused, sorry. I always end up defaulting to when I go to places like the beach, and it's always the one that ends with my pocket, and that is the Spyderco Salt. This is the Native 5 Salt, and this is made in the United States. It is made with LC200N blade steel, which is one of my absolute favorite steels ever made, not even close. This is the knife that probably would be go anywhere knife, because it is a 3-inch blade, because it's a backlock. It has a combination of things that make it very easy to carry and legal everywhere. So yeah, this is the absolute keeper for me. And yeah, this will be number 2 inside the pouch. Now, keeping with 3-inch knives, we'll continue down that path because there's a number here that I cannot not have. The other one is going to have to be the Beluga from Petrified Fish, the mini Beluga. This has the Damascus, red and black Damascus scales, and 14C28N. Once again, you'll see that a lot in my collection. And the blade shape. God, this knife is so nice. It even comes with an option to switch from bearings to washers. Such a nice touch. I love that it does that. I cannot recommend this knife enough. The fuller is just exposed enough to be able to reverse flick it. Home run knife, in my opinion. I will link to the review of this, but I cannot recommend this knife enough. So there's our first 3. We have 13 slots left. All right. Now, if you just watched the video earlier today, you will know that I had a surprise. When I tested both the Praxis and the Spidey Chef and the Riffle, the real surprise here was that the Riffle was the winner overall. At $55 in 14C, 28N, another example, this thing performed incredibly well at food prep, just insanely well. I was just very, very impressed. So this is the new budget knife of choice for me at the 3.5-inch mark. I think at $55 with bearings, 14C28, flipper, micarta, this is one of them. This is definitely going to be a knife that we will be keeping for a long time. It's going to be hard to beat that one. All right, now let's keep going. The second knife, and this is one of the biggest surprises to me that I like this knife so much. This is the Nightshade from Vosteed. This knife blew my mind. If we were actually doing a full comparison of every knife I had when it comes to using it for food prep, this knife probably beats even the Spidey Chef. I'm not kidding you. This knife is insane. So this design, this shape is based on a traditional shillin blade, and I'll show you a picture of that. I am so impressed with this knife. I cannot say enough. It's probably the knife that ends up making it into my pocket the most right now, and I love everything about it. I love the action of it. I love the comfort. Yeah, enough said. This actually makes it in ahead of the Spidey Chef. Before the last time we did this video, the Spidey Chef is the one that ended up being #1 on my list. And now this actually, I would rather keep this than the Spidey Chef. That's how good this knife is, in my opinion. So there's #2 of that. So total of 5 so far. Now let's keep going. The Spidey Chef, since we're on the subject, does the Spidey Chef stay in the collection? Yes, it does. It stays in the collection. It's still an excellent knife. It's still excellent at food prep. And above all of these, it's one of the few knives that is truly, well, as close to impervious to, mess as you can get. I mean, I could throw this in the dishwasher and I don't care. I really don't. It comes on phosphor bronze washers. I mean, you can leave this in water for days and it doesn't care. 14C and titanium. Even the screws on this thing are titanium. Titanium. Titanium wire clip. I mean, the whole thing. It doesn't even have a lock bar insert that can rust. So yeah, this is still a winner. However, I will say that there is a knife currently in production or coming out now that may end up unseating this. And that is probably going to be something that I'll look into in the near future, possibly. I know we're at 22 minutes and it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's keep going. All right. So we're up to 6. We have 10 more. So the next 2 are not going to be a surprise, and they are going to be the Demco 80 20.5. These are the fidgetiest knives. Is that a thing? The most fidgety knives I own, not even close. They also have a lock system, the shark lock, that, according to Andrew Demco, is almost as strong as the Triad. So they are fidgety while having an incredibly strong locking system. And unlike most, like the crossbar lock, over time, as things wear down, they actually get tighter and more secure, not less secure. So yeah, we'll be keeping these. I have custom scales on them from Original Goat, both a extra thick, as they're calling the fat scales, as well as the thin variation, both in aluminum. And these are matching numbers, the first 100 that were released on Blade Show. So these are an absolute keep, no question. So those are going to be in there. So that completes that setup like that. Okay, now let's take out this little pouch here. That's what I love about the vault case. You can just kind of take each out and just kind of, you know, mix and match them as you go. Now, there's a lot of interesting knives on this table left. Kind of a weird combination, actually. So this is where it's getting a little hard. Let's start with the big surprise. At least when I got it, I kind of had low expectations based on other reviews, but I found it to be superior to a lot of other popular knives, and that is going to have to be the Savivi Nox. So this is not a titanium frame lock. This is actually a steel frame lock, and I got this for an upcoming video that you may be interested in, where I make a $200 themed EDC around stainless steel. Everything, including the wallet, is made of stainless steel. And this knife, and this watch, by the way, are going to be in that video. And what really surprised me is just how good this knife really is. Unlike the Elementum, which is ultra popular, this actually has a true usable finger choil. And even though it's a frame lock and it doesn't have the most drop shot action in the world, I prefer it a lot, like over the Elementum. I like the shape of the handle better. I love the finger choil on this one, and it's a 3-inch blade with a awesome hollow grind in Nitro V, which is a much preferable steel to D2 for me. It's much easier to sharpen. It has substantially better corrosion resistance, and actually only slightly less edge retention. So I love this. This is a great knife, and I'll definitely be keeping it for the foreseeable future. All right. Let's go to the cold steel. Two cold steels here. So the first one is the Air Light. So the Air Light is a huge surprise from the budget perspective. It's not a very cold steel-esque knife, if you really think about it. It's super thin. In fact, here, check this out. So let me get the Kbar out of here. This is as thin, or almost a little bit thinner than the Kbar Dozier, while having a bigger blade in AUS 10A and excellent shape, ergonomics, and everything else. This is a fan-freaking-tastic knife. I cannot say enough about this. It even has a 90-degree spine up here for striking fire steel if you use this as an outdoorsman's knife. And it's a great knife that transitions from daily carry to outdoor tasks. Very, very good for that because it's ultra tough triad lock, as well as having, you know, all of these extra features. Nice stout tip. Yeah. You know, I got this after seeing Gideon Tactical's review of it, and his only critique was price, and then it dropped down $30 lower than what he was showing in his video. So this right now is still a great knife. And there's two variants. I can't remember, they vary which one is cheaper in a given moment, but definitely worth checking out. And this is definitely going to be a knife that I will keep. Now it's either going to be the only thing I'm not sure is it's either going to be a metric knife or it's going to be something I carry. And I go back and forth. Sometimes I actually will carry it. So, you know, I'll hold off for now. Let's start with this one before I go to that one. And this will help me decide. So this knife I got by accident. I made a video on it because they sent me the wrong knife. This is another Ganzo. It's a pretty generic crossbar lock. And this is the FB765. And honestly, for a $19 knife, this is beyond impressive, right? Like, look at that, right? It's got a little bit stronger set of Omega springs than the average crossbar lock, but still, it's insane how good this knife is for that price point. So yeah, this is actually going to end up being a great metric knife. I mean, this just shows that you can do it. You can actually get a G10 440C crossbar lock for under $20. Obscene, truly. So yeah, this one is definitely going into the reference pile, the metric pile. which actually helps a lot. So that does mean I'm going to end up keeping the Cold Steel Airlight in my final grouping for sure. And speaking of Cold Steel, the custom 8010 that I have with these beautiful micarta scales, which are extra thick and even have a bow drill divot. This will probably never be a knife that I ever sell. It is one of the most comfortable knives I own. It is beefy and overbuilt and just awesome. Nothing else can be said except just awesomeness. This is Andrew Demco in knife form, right? This right here. I still think it's their crowning achievement. I like the 8020. I've held it, but in my opinion, the cutting geometry on the 8010 is superior to the 8020 and is a better knife than the 8020. Maybe not better locking mechanism, but it is absolutely a better performing knife. And so I will definitely be keeping this for sure in my collection. And so let's go ahead and put that in the bottom section of this tray here. So you can put this in a couple different ways, but this way I don't have to worry about the clips. So that's going to be our first one in that slot. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 left. That's interesting. 5 left and 4 knives left. Well, that makes it easy, but let's run through it, shall we? I didn't actually know that was going to happen, but I'm not putting any of the knives that we've talked about into this setup. So let's start with this one. The Osborne 940. Maybe top 10 most iconic knives ever made. At least in the last 10 years. And I would literally throw every knife you've seen today in the trash can before I get rid of this exact knife. This was actually something that I got to keep from someone I lost. And I was there when he purchased it. I was a teenager at the time, and I remember going to Chesapeake Knife and Tool, and I remember him picking this up. Now, he's not with us anymore, but this is something that I have of his, and I would never give it up. And this will definitely be the last one in this slot here. So let's put that away. I do carry it too. I'm not going to not carry it because of that, but never would I get rid of that knife. Now, we talked a little bit about this. This is, of course, the Doug Ritter Hogue knife, and holy moly, is this an incredible knife. Magna cut steel, maybe quantitatively the best steel that you can buy in any knife right now. I think it's hard to justify anything over this. And this is a fantastic knife. Just truly incredible. My only hesitation with keeping this is not that it's not ideal, it's that it's an exclusive. This exact model with the carbon fiber handles, I don't think they're making any more. And it always makes me a little nervous to hard use knives that are never going to be made again. Just personally, if they ever make this exact knife in the G10 variant, I'll end up buying that and then getting this to a collector who will love it. I think that's what's going to end up happening. But as the actual knife itself, I don't think you can get much better than this. I really don't. So 100% I'd keep this when we're thinking about all of these. And the last two on the list is the Petrified Fish Victor, which I just reviewed this week. Ridiculously good budget knife, and loving that clip point. What I will tell you is this knife is kind of a placeholder for a knife that I've been ogling for a long time, and that is the Emerson Sheepdog in clip point. That's probably going to end up being where this goes. It's going to be the slot that this is taking up, and that will probably be a forever knife for sure. That's a knife I've been thinking about for a while. And then the last one is going to be a button lock. Now, this was one of the first button locks made by Savivi. We've talked about it briefly, but it will probably just take, it'll be either this knife or the Conspirator or some other button lock. I don't know which one, but it'll be a button lock. Maybe the Malibu at some point. But for now, this is a fantastic knife, 14C28N, around $80. Or is it $70 now? I think it's $70 actually. And great. great action, great knife. Enough said. So there you go. That's me trimming down my collection. What do we got here? So let's take these away for a minute. So all of these are metrics. I'm not going to end up getting rid of them. And all of these are for giveaway. I actually don't think there's a single knife in here that I'm selling. Every one of these is going to be part of a giveaway at some point or another. I think that because I had gotten some black paint on this Praxis, I may actually take the opportunity to try my hand at dyeing the scales just for fun and then giving it away. I might even do some acid wash on the knife blade and then give away a custom one. Wouldn't that be cool? So I'll do that. But yeah, I think this was pretty successful. I'm actually really happy about it. It feels nice to trim down my collection. And now I can put these things away, right? And you guys will probably be seeing these again in the near future. Anyway, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And we'll talk again soon.